Good morning, everyone. Good morning. My name is Josh Campbell. I'm the Executive Director of the Missouri Energy Initiative. We will give this a couple more minutes. I'm giving everybody access to talk if you have questions. If not, you'll want to mute yourself.
This is Carolyn Christman, and I can hear you.
Great.
Is there a way to turn on, do you want video or not?
I'm sorry, what? Is there a way to...
Do you want, we don't have any option to turn on video. It's just,
Oh, no, in this one, there's not. I can for yourself, though. Hold on one moment. I have 3 of you here. Do you know which one is you? Do you have other people signed in?
well, I'm in a room, we've got a couple of people that computers. They're,
There are some feedback on your end. You can use video now, Carolyn.
I'll try to stay muted. It says you cannot start the video because the host has stopped it.
Well, there was some feedback, so I went ahead and muted everyone. If you'd like to talk, you can go ahead and do that. Carolyn, do you want to make any introductions? Or are you okay if I go ahead?
Since I'm giving quite a bit of feedback, I would say, why don't you go ahead and get started, and that we'll call it good.
Okay. All right. Good morning. My name is Josh Campbell. I am the Executive Director of the Missouri Energy Initiative and the administrator of the Show Me Pace Clean Energy District. I want to thank the Kirksville Regional Economic Development group for helping set this up and working with us, especially Carolyn. If you have questions at any time, please feel free to, I believe you can raise your hand. At a minimum, you can chat and let me know, and then we can give people some access to talk. But just to make sure that we don't have too much feedback, we'll go ahead and move forward in this way. For those of you that are not aware, and hopefully some of you are at least a little bit, but PACE is Property Assessed Clean Energy. It's an alternative way to finance energy efficiency and renewable energy related construction projects. The state statute was passed in 2010, and it allows us to use a public-private partnership to access private capital and place an individual assessment on property that the property owner pays annually to cover the costs over a longer term than they would traditionally. PACE through the state statute is limited to energy efficiency and renewable energy related projects, but it is designed that your savings, both via statute and the program in general, is designed to where you will save more money than the project costs. Now, when it comes to efficiency or renewable energy, think anything that provides your property more efficiency. That can be tuck pointing. While it doesn't have a lot of savings, if you can combine that with something else, say lighting, you can reach the goal of saving more than the cost of the project. Missouri is not the only state with PACE. There are 37 other states with PACE statutes. Of the states surrounding Missouri, only Illinois has a program that has closed a project, I guess, and Lincoln has closed one. And that's really in northern Illinois as well. So Arkansas has a program, but they've gone silent for a little bit. Iowa, not far from where you're all at, does not have a program. As I had mentioned, the statute is Missouri statute, pardon me, was approved by the legislature in 2010, but then each community is required to pass an ordinance opting into a district. There are 4 districts in the state of Missouri, 2 statewide and 2 specific to a geographic location, city of St. Louis and St. Louis County. So these are political subdivisions. The Show Me PACE Clean Energy District has a board that sets up its bylaws, its protocols, processes, etc. So a key component and the value for you is that the statute does require that the property owner see greater savings than the cost of that project. That's really important for us, and we look at that as a benefit not only for you, but as PACE is an assessment, it's also a value to your employees, your local community, your mortgage holder. You are stronger in your property when you have something that is a consistent and known cost, but that ultimately repays you more than what you've put in. We can see here that there's increase in property values, which protects and supports the local tax base. It keeps jobs in the local community, specifically construction jobs are all local. And it can promote a cleaner and more sustainable environment. The key components of PACE that may be of value to you is the fact that it's a 20-year term. It's amortized, it's a fixed interest rate over this term, which is different than what you get in a commercial loan, which is traditionally a 5-year fixed with then flexible after that. Additionally, PACE can cover 100% of the project costs, both soft and hard. Think architects, energy audits, other fees that are in there can all cover that. Additionally, that first payment for PACE isn't due, since it's an assessment and it's paid at the same time as your property taxes, is not due until the end of the year. So if you have a project and you complete it now, that first payment isn't due until December, unlike if you were to pay a traditional loan, get a traditional SBA loan that's due right away. Additionally, PACE can set up to where you wouldn't have that first payment for the following year or the year after. Think of a new building where you get the financing, but you're not going to be in operation for, say, 12 to 24 months. If you don't have income flow and you're not seeing or reaping those benefits, those savings, you may want to put that off until your property is in play and is in working condition. So in that sense, you can put that off until, say, 48 months. Again, that's just 1 or 2 payments. And because of this delayed payment, you are very likely to be cash flow positive from day one. It is non-recourse financing. It does take first lien status, but in a 20-year assessment, only the first year or only that one single year takes first lien, not the entire thing. And it can stay with the property because it is an evaluation and affixed to that property. It's not to your company. It's not to you individually. Um, and because of this and how it sits as an assessment, it is highly likely that it can be seen as an off-balance sheet accounting, to where it is less likely to impact your debt and credit. If you are in the hospitality or even commercial where you have tenants, a big issue has always been to where the tenant is the one paying the utility bills, but the owner is the one that has to upgrade the HVAC or the roof. With PACE, it is something that as a green tariff or something else can be easily transferred and shared by that tenant, where they are reaping the benefits, but also helping to defer some or all of those costs. To give you an example of how a traditional loan may work versus how PACE may work, let's look at this as an example. So if you have a project and you have $50,000 in savings, and then you also have maintenance savings, so labor and maintenance, and that can go from, think lighting as an example. Now we do know that you're not going to let someone go once you go from one light bulb to another, but their time is allocated somewhere else. But in general, your savings here in this example is $70,000 a year. Your debt payment, if you're using a traditional loan, is $87,000, and it's due immediately. So your net savings is actually negative 17,000 when you come out of that. And it continues to grow that way because you immediately have to pay that, and the way that it is charged. Whereas if you look at PACE, again, we have a $70,000 savings, but because it's amortized over 20 years, the debt payment is lower. And then your savings are positive that first year. And then you grow there as you see it going forward over time. That ability to be cash flow positive in the first part is extremely important, from all of the examples that we've seen, the number of projects that we've closed. So PACE isn't brand new. And PACE, as I mentioned, is not just in Missouri. But when we look at the national perspective, we see that and these are old numbers, it's now over $1 billion of commercial PACE, over, I believe, 2,000 or 1,900 projects that are have been completed. Sorry. And with all those different states that you see involved, it is very diversified. Now, residential PACE is another option. Actually, now there's 4. Ohio just launched or announced they're going to launch. They haven't closed any projects yet. But that is the vast majority of those projects nationwide is residential. But in Missouri, it's completely different. In Missouri, we see that there's been $120 million in commercial PACE, 166 total. Now you see the difference here. 46 million in residential is almost 3,000 projects versus 120 million is 55 projects. I think it should go without saying, but for commercial, the project size are much larger. Residential, the project size are about $12,000 per project, and in commercial, we're probably in the 800 to $1.2 million, 800,000 to $1.2 million is the average. Our smallest project that we have done on the commercial side is 136,000. We do have a new lender on board that can go below that number, at which we're hoping to do. So our district, since 2015, has closed 29 commercial projects worth 59 million. But the key here for your local community is the fact that this 59 million has leveraged $321 million of just construction investment in those properties. Not doesn't account for the jobs that go in once that property is in play and operational, or what they do with their savings, which some companies will be able to hire more people. This is just on the construction side. So I thought I'd give you some examples of some PACE projects that have been undertaken by Show Me PACE. A recent one, if you're familiar with Jeff City, where there was the hospital up on the hill. Well, now that hospital is now turned into a hotel, the Courtyard Marriott. These case studies, if not now, will be soon up on our website. But you can see that specifics, this project was $2.4 million. The interest rate was at 6% even, which is higher than what you're going to get in a commercial loan. But ideally, what you're doing is it is part of the capital stack. As an example here, it did not cover the entire cost of the project, which was a brand new hotel, but it was part of the capital stack. So there was several other lenders involved, and PACE was just a portion of it. But you can see that they did lighting, windows, heaters, HVAC systems, even low flow fixtures. Now I will be clear on the low flow fixtures. It's not that they saved money from the water savings. It's the hot water component. Missouri does not allow at this point water efficiency savings. That is something that we have been advocating for, but there are energy savings attributed to low flow water fixtures directly tied to your water heater. And then you can see here their total savings was $3.7 million, and the energy savings as well. Another smaller example, this $158,000. This one was 100% solar. Its interest rate was 6.95, and it was in early 2019, I believe. Again, you can see their savings is almost 3 times the amount of the cost. This was a nonprofit. It was a workspace for a variety of different artists. And so they had a unique, as you can see in the picture, a unique design and age of the building. But the property here definitely saw a value. And what I'm showing you is we had a hospitality. This is industrial. We have done an additional industrial project as well. Something else that you may have in your community is a need for just a face upgrade for your local shopping centers, retail spots. So one of those has been done in the suburbs in Belton of Kansas City, where it was a $1.3 million project. This was in the year is missing, and I apologize about that, but it was in, I believe, 2018. Interest rate is 6.75%, but it goes all the way to the parking lot lighting, the exterior lighting for the facade of the building, the roof, the windows on the building, HVAC replacements, and even EIFS insulation repairs. So you can see here that as this is a whole property and the lighting in the parking lot is part of it, that is something where you can switch those to LED, make it brighter, make it more efficient. Recent project we had closed last year was a mixed use large project in the St. Louis County city of Creve Coeur. It was a $3.2 million project, again, around 6% interests. We see traditional, what you're seeing here is not a lot of solar. We've only had a couple of solar components. It's mostly vastly energy efficiency. And in each of these, they are saving significant. And what you see here, the difference is there are some additional dollars that are placed here. This facility specifically saw capital cost avoidance, not energy savings specifically, by using PACE over alternative capital. And that allowed them to meet the requirement of the local economic benefit for that property owner. In Olivet, there is a multifamily, so an apartment complex that was built, I know a little bit larger at 3.2 million. Pace was just part of the capital stack. This project obviously built new, cost more than that. But the basic water heater, lighting, and energy, envelope improvements. So looking at the outside of the building, tuck pointing, those type of things. You can see a trend here over the last 12 months, 18 months. 6% is about where we're at. We did get up to 7% on a couple of them. The lowest we've seen in pace since 15 was a 5.5, I believe. An additional project we have here, another industrial one, the outskirts of St. Louis and Chesterfield. So this is an engineering firm. They do manufacturing as well as consulting and designing. This is a 5.5%, a $600,000 project. They did a lot of the work on their own as being an engineering firm, as you can imagine, but significant savings here and a demonstration that it really does work in a variety of different places. We've done industrial, multifamily, we've done agriculture, we've done education. So there is a private school in the city of Columbia, which did solar, some new fans for their gym system. And that one was a $300,000 project. They saved more than double of that. Their interest rate in 2018 was higher at 7.29%. But that, if you recall, that was a tough year in general when it came to interest rates. Schools can use PACE. The difference is your local public schools have access to much cheaper money than this. Now, MEI has been advocating and researching a variety of different ways where we can create a partnership where we can get this rate lower. But in reality, it's never going to get as low as a municipal bond or a school bond that they can borrow. But it is an option for other public entities or public use entities. So how our process works is if you don't have a capital provider that you're partnered with, you don't have a contractor that knows anything about it, you can submit an interest form to Show Me Pace. We will connect you with a contractor that we have set up. And what we'll try and do for both the contractors and the capital providers is based on your interest. So if you know that you've got HVAC and a roof work to be done, and you figured out that if just from your experience, that's going to cost $200,000, we can connect you with contractors or capital providers that work and specialize in that particular area. And then what will happen is they'll reach out to you as part of our open market program, and they'll bid on that project. They'll get an idea if they're comfortable with it and if you're comfortable with them. And then you will be able to make your choice. So after you do the letter interest, the application interest form, we provide that to the appropriate parties. There's a process in which you work with that capital provider to go through your eligibility, your underwriting, all the other requirements that go into it. When we look at that savings component, these folks can help you out with that. But what we look at is that you have a savings to investment ratio of greater than 1. That is what this SIR looks like. Let me see if I can, right here. That's what the SIR is. So what we do is we take your energy savings over the term of your assessment. You can choose anywhere, any year you want in reality, but we do tell folks, as you kind of seen from this presentation, if you are at looking for a return and get it paid off within 5, even 10 years, we do highly recommend that you talk with your local bank. Your local bank is probably a much more fitting opportunity for you. We wouldn't say no, but we do think it's probably more cost effective for you to use your bank with that short term, because the amortization value is really when it's 20 years, 15 to 20 years. But what we do is we'll take your savings over that term, and that savings is we look at the useful life So an HVAC unit's got a 15-year useful life. And we then compare that to what you're replacing. If it's a new build, we look at what your local building codes are. And so what that difference is, that's your savings. And then we apply that over the term with an escalator. So unfortunately, right, our energy bills are not staying flat and haven't stayed flat. They're going up. DOE, the U.S. Department of Energy, suggests our region will see a 3% interest, 3% increase on our utility bills over the coming years. We've seen in Missouri closer to a 5 to even up to as high as 7% interest. Pardon me, keep saying interest. 5 to 7% increase on our utility bills. So what they'll do is when they analyze your savings, they will include that, usually around 5%. So you add that savings. And then if your project includes anything where it would reduce your operation and maintenance, if there was a unit that was costing you a significant amount of money to do upkeep on and you're replacing that, those are savings that you can put into place if you knew that you were going to be able to do that for a number of years. Or if you change your lighting system, that's the one that everyone thinks about. Those savings can be put into place as well. And then finally, if there is capital cost avoidance. So if you had other type of financing that you were using for a particular project or something else, you can put all those together. And that number must be greater than the amount that you are being charged for the project's implementation. It doesn't include our fee, it doesn't include interest rates, but it is, what is the cost of the HVAC unit, the solar panels, the lighting, whatever that is. So you and the capital provider will put that package together, provide it to us for consideration. Either while we're doing that or otherwise, you'll get your mortgage lender must provide consent on the project. If you recall, that's because PACE takes a first lien status. Again, it's only the first that year's payment or anything in default takes first lien status over your mortgage, just like your taxes. It cannot be accelerated. So on a $100,000 assessment that is 10 years, that's $10,000 a year. Only that $10,000 takes first lien position. And the other 90,000 sits behind the mortgage. So once you get all of those components together, the district will approve that. We provide approval within 7 business days. We file the assessment with the recorder, so it's on the record. And then we use a third-party collector, not the local county collector. This saves you money and is what has been asked of by most collectors. So they'll send you a bill. It'll be the same time and process that your taxes are. So you got to pay by December 31st at midnight for it to count for that year. Otherwise, interest and penalties start to accrue after. But then we'll bill that directly. And then it should be an annual payment that is taken care of each year after that. All right. So I did mention that we have a open market, and I apologize. I want to erase this for you. What that means is our board, the district board, vets capital providers, those that are willing to provide funds for PACE, and approves them. And then once they're approved, they can finance projects within our district. This list here is the list of current capital providers that we have. They can fund projects from 2,500 to 50 million. I will say anything under 80,000, the only entity that does that right now is Y-Green, and they combine that with their residential program, which means we need to have an agreement with your local county collector. We are working on trying to develop a program to where we can fund maybe a 50,000 and above, but anything that's that small is specialty and is specifically to Y-Green. But these folks can then reach out to you at your request and help bid on that project, help walk you through But it's on demand. It's the approval process, the underwriting. They have funds available and ready to go. So as we look at PACE and energy policy in general, I had mentioned MEI. So the Missouri Energy Initiative is a Missouri-based 501c3. We launched Show Me PACE in 2015 to support Missouri-based economic development and energy specific. And you can see here, these are our board of directors. So they help drive the discussion that we have. And you can see the diversity from agriculture to environmental to utility to R&D. MEI and Show Me PACE are dedicated to economic development in the entire state of Missouri. And I've been really happy to talk with you all today and happy to take any questions. And I will see if I can unmute folks so we can get some questions. I apologize. The staff person that usually handles this is on spring break, but everyone now should have an opportunity to talk and ask any question they have.
Hey, Josh, this is Carolyn. I sent a note. It does because we have some people on this call who represent, a region. They don't just represent Kirksville or Adair County or have, operations here. But is it still the fact that the local, city, municipality, or that an ordinance has to be passed in order to participate in the PACE program, or is that no longer the case?
That is the case. So the local municipality, and that can be the county or the city, would pass an ordinance to, and if I can ask, do you see the PowerPoint or something else in front of you? All right, so hopefully you now see the Show Me PACE website. And right here we have the participating municipalities. So this is a pinpoint of the municipalities or counties that have joined Show Me PACE. It's over 60 at this point. We have them all listed right here, a long list. I know that's kind of blurry as you go through it. But ultimately the local municipality must pass an ordinance. If you would like to contact us, we'll work with the local communities to get an ordinance passed. As a reminder, if you are working with your local government, PACE is designed the way that we operate it, where there's no cost or liability or action required by the local government other than passing the ordinance. We ask they pass an ordinance and sign a cooperative agreement. That cooperative agreement is mostly the district's duties to the local government. There is, an advisory board that all the participating municipalities take part in. We have an annual meeting. We try and communicate regularly. We share, new policies. We share closings of projects, exciting news about PACE. But ideally, at that annual meeting, we also hear how things are going, what we can do to collaborate more, what we can do to help support PACE in that local community, so on and so forth. So if you're in the community, and if you are in Northwest or Northern Missouri and you aren't covered with a dot, let me know. We'd be happy to reach out. And this is a little old because I know we have Macon and Moberly both recently joined. So in late 2020. So we'd happy to work with you on that.
I really appreciate that, Josh. Does anyone else have any questions for Josh? Looks like you were so thorough that, that all questions were answered.
Well, I understand it's a lot of information to take in. I think the simplest thing is if you have any questions, to reach out to myself or my staff, showmepace.org. You know, as a Missourian, really easy to remember, right? Check that out. Our information's there. It has a lot of the answers to the questions that you may have, but we'll also pick up the phone or reply to an email. And we can help you either do more presentations like this or help you with a project that you may have.
And I see one person that has my name. I think that we had sent out the Zoom link to a few people who hadn't been able to actually register through the form, has their hand raised. I don't know if they've got a P on their screen and it looks like a hand is raised. I don't know if you're able to see that and unmute them, Josh.
I tried. There we go. That person is unmuted now, who had their hand raised.
Is that me, Carolyn?
Yes.
Okay. I think you answered my question I had about just getting a hold of you if I'm interested in looking into it further. I know we have a couple buildings that have solar panels already, and we need probably roof repair done. And so it's more difficult with solar panels, of course. So, but that's some of the things in HVAC and all that. So that would be interesting to check with you further.
Absolutely. Definitely happy to help. And we are continuing to work with and search for other capital providers that will work in areas where we haven't closed the project. I'm not oblivious to the fact that in rural Missouri, there are not a lot of $20 million projects that PACE can take a part of as a $2 million piece, right? They're smaller. And I think candidly, that's both something that we as a district and PACE as an industry need to address. And as MEI, that's what we are working on doing. So I don't want anybody to think that it's only for really big projects. We'll work to find a solution for you. So and
Another
we've got
question.
contractors to all that. What's that?
Another question, would the project be singular property, or could it be a group of 2, maybe 3 properties that you can work on under the one umbrella of the project?
So I've had a conversation with a couple capital providers about that. As an example, when I think of the town centers of rural Missouri, right? Those individual properties all right next to each other, but needing similar work. I think there is a solution to that. I don't have it at the ready right now, because on its face, if there are 3 properties and they're right next to each other, each property itself has to have a separate assessment, right? And each one has to have a separate contract. However, I can tell you as an example, if each project's 100,000, or let's say 50,000, and that's not enough to meet the threshold for some of our capital providers. Let's say there's 3 to 5 of them together, and it's the same project. Let's say they share a roof and they all put, as your example, they put solar on their shared roof, but they only own a portion of it. That can work to where when you join multiple projects to get to a larger amount, capital providers will be interested in that. That usually comes to us when a contractor has a pipeline of, say, 3, 5, 20 projects of smaller amounts, but has them wrapped up. That capital provider may work with them that way. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I don't think I have anything else. I'll probably just be getting a hold of you sometime in the near future.
Great. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, again, on behalf of the MEI board and Show Me Pace, thank you, Carolyn, for helping setting this up. Thank you all for participating. I really do hope that we get a chance to work together and see Pace throughout the state for the spots that it doesn't work. And do know if you got some energy questions, we can help you out on that too. Even if Pace isn't the answer, that doesn't mean I'm not going to try and help.
That's awesome, Josh. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for attending. And yeah, just feel free to reach out to Josh, or if you need help from me, I am here as well. So have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Thank you.